You ever wonder what makes a story really stick with you? I mean, from these huge blockbuster movies down to the simplest bedtime stories, there's this powerful, kind of hidden blueprint that makes them all work. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at that blueprint. Because if you've ever wanted to tell a truly amazing story yourself, well, you are in the right place. Okay, let's get into it.
So what is it? What's the magic ingredient? Is it just, a clever plot or some charming characters? Well, it's not some big mystery. It's actually way simpler and way more powerful than you might think. That secret ingredient, it's all about structure. And to see how it works, we're going to follow the journey of a little hero in a story called Lulu the Bunny and the Lost Star.
Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we'll break down the classic 5-stage blueprint that you see in pretty much every great story. Then, we're going to trace Lulu's adventure step by step, and you'll see how his journey fits that blueprint perfectly. By the end, you'll get exactly why this little tale feels so right.
All right, let's kick things off with the big idea. You see, almost every story that pulls you in, whether it's an epic novel or a story you tell a friend, follows this classic structure. Some people call it the dramatic arc. Think of it as the invisible skeleton that holds the whole thing up and, more importantly, takes us on an emotional ride.
And these 5 stages? This is the secret engine that makes it all go. First, you've got the exposition. That's the setup, where we figure out what's going on. Then the rising action starts building the tension. The climax, that's the big one, the peak we've all been waiting for. After that, the falling action sorts out the mess. And finally, the resolution shows us the new normal. So let's see how this plays out with our little bunny friend Lulu.
Okay, so think about it. Every great story has to start somewhere, right? It starts by showing us what normal is. Before any of the action or adventure, we need to know the world and the hero who lives in it. This gives us a starting point, a status quo that, you guessed it, is about to get completely shaken up. The exposition has a really simple job. It just answers the basic questions. Who are we following? Where in the world are they? And what's their life like? For our hero Lulu, it's a peaceful forest, a cozy little house, and a sky full of bright stars that he loves. That's it. That's all we need to feel grounded in his world. And here he is. Meet Lulu. Right away, the story tells us he's kind, he's curious, and he's living this nice, quiet life. This is our baseline. It's a peaceful world, but it's a world that is about to be turned upside down.
And there it is. That's the moment. Storytellers have a name for this. They call it the inciting incident. It's that one event that shatters the normal we just learned about and throws our hero headfirst into the story. The piece is officially over, and the adventure is on.
So, where do we go from here? Well, that brings us to stage 2, the rising action. Now that the fuse has been lit, this part is all about building up the suspense, throwing some challenges in the way, and raising the stakes. This is the part of the story that really pulls you in, It gets you hooked. So what really gets this whole thing moving? A super clear conflict. And here, it's spelled out perfectly. On one side, you have the problem. A little star is lost and can't get home. On the other, you have our hero's promise, which becomes his mission. This simple vow gives the entire story its purpose and makes us care about what happens next.
And you can see the journey laid out right here. The rising action isn't just one thing happening, it's a series of steps. Lulu finds the star, sure, but he can't do it alone. He gets help from Sammy the squirrel, gets some advice from the wise owl. Each one of these steps is a little test, and each one gets us closer to the big moment.
Okay, so we've been building and building. The tension is rising. And now, here we are. The peak, the climax. This is that heart-pounding moment where everything comes to a head. All the steps, all the struggles, it has all been leading right here.
And notice what's happening here. The description of the journey. They're pushing through obstacles. They're climbing higher and higher. This isn't just a casual stroll, right? This physical climb is literally showing us the story climbing to its most intense point. We can feel that effort, that anticipation.
And here we are, at the very top. The star is getting brighter. You can just feel it, can't you? We're right on the edge. Something big is about to happen. This is that last breath before everything changes.
And boom, that's it. That's the climax. The single biggest problem in the entire story, the star being stuck on the ground, is solved. Right here, right now. Lulu's mission? It's a success. The star is finally going home. This is the big payoff we've been waiting for.
But wait a second. A great story doesn't just cut to black right at the peak, does it? The big thrill might be over, but the experience isn't. We need to wind down and see what happens next.
That's where the falling action and the resolution come in. These last two stages show us the aftermath and establish the new normal.
Think of the falling action like taking that first deep breath after all the excitement. The main conflict is resolved, but the story isn't quite done. This is our chance to see the characters react, to process what just happened, and to feel the immediate results of that peak moment.
And this is what it's all about, that emotional payoff. The star's gratitude isn't just a nice line, it's a direct result of Lulu's actions during the climax. This is the moment that gives us that warm, fuzzy feeling of emotional closure. It's the thank you that makes the whole journey worth it. And finally, we get to the resolution. This is the end of the line where we see how the characters and their world have been changed for the better because of this whole adventure. This is the new normal, the new reality they get to live in.
And often, the resolution is where the story's real message, its theme, just clicks into place. Lulu says it right here. See, this was never just a story about a bunny finding a star. It's a story about how being kind can literally make the world a brighter place. This is the big takeaway, the idea that gives the whole adventure meaning.
So, let's circle back. Why does this simple little tale feel so good, so satisfying? It's because it perfectly follows that 5-part structure we just walked through. It hits every single emotional note we need to feel like we've been on a real, meaningful journey.
So what's the recipe for an amazing story? It really boils down to this. You need a hero we can all root for, somebody like Lulu. You give them a really clear problem to solve so we know exactly what's at stake. You send them on a journey with steps that get us invested. Then you build to one big, climactic moment. And you wrap it all up with a resolution that feels earned and gives the whole thing purpose.
At the end of the day, what Lulu's story really shows us is that this structure, it's not just a formula for plot points. It's a way to make an emotion, an idea, resonate deeply with us. The structure is what allows the story's big idea, kindness, to shine as brightly as that little star. And it leaves us with a pretty simple but powerful question to think about in our own lives.